So the Lumi Rank half-year ranking will be coming soon and ending at July 7th, so I wanted to talk about who could be number one right now since half a year is gone. It feels like this year has really flown by. We have had a lot of crazy tournaments. Of course, we had the biggest tournament of all time happen this year. It's awesome to still see Smash Ultimate still thriving, but I do want to talk about who could be number one. I'm not really saying who I think the best player in the world is, but based on results, who would be number one on the ranking. Just giving my thoughts and opinions on the four contenders, because I think there are only really four people that could probably be it, and it isn't as obvious as you may think. But if you enjoy videos like this, make sure to subscribe. We're getting a good amount of love for this channel, and I'm excited to keep talking about Smash Ultimate, but let's get into it. I do want you guys to know that I definitely did light research when it comes to this and just in my memory, so even if I don't get one or two tournaments, I do think I watch a lot of tournaments and know enough to make kind of an opinion. But hey, there might be a person I'm forgetting, there might be a tournament I'm forgetting, there are a ton of tournaments that are going to count, so who knows how Lumi Rank's going to define it, and I'm excited to see what they do. But let's start with Spargo. Now, Spargo is the current number one, and he had a crazy last year, and he is of course the number one everyone wanted. He definitely wanted to keep his streak up, but he is the person I think unfortunately won't make number one, and here's why. While he did win Luminosity Makes Big Moves as his biggest tournament win, his worst tournaments being Genesis X2 with the 17th and Kagaribi 13 with the 33rd, probably do knock him out as number one. I feel like even though those tournaments, I mean, you do only lose to two people when you go to a major, he still did go way too low for the contendership to still be in his favor, and he doesn't go to enough to really make up for it. If Supernova was in this group and he won Supernova, I could say yeah, he could probably still make it up, but I do think this does knock him out as number one. There are just a ton of fantastic players now. It's not going to be that easy, and consistency is very much valued when it comes to being number one. So while I think Spargo is super sick and I would love to see him climb up again, I still really want to see how he is at Supernova. I just don't see it as him being number one right now, even though I don't really know how much he's going to be playing still, because he still did have those few tweets of like doubting how much he loves Smash Ultimate, doubting how much he wants to play, thinking his goals have been reached. I'm not really sure. I don't know how much more we're going to see of Spargo. If Spargo quits the game, it's going to suck, because I feel like he's been such a motivation for so many top players, including just the ones that he's going to be facing against, and they'll just be sad not seeing him there. But hey, this is going to be not a surprise to anyone else, but he is the only person not Japanese that I'm going to be talking about for the rest of the video, since the rest are probably going to be Japanese players. Next up, we're going to be talking about Doramigi. Doramigi was the winner of Level Up Expo, and he was demolishing people with Min Min, making people kind of remember how dumb this character is. Min Min's advantage state is so explosive that every time he touched somebody, it felt like they were about to die. Every time they were off stage, he would always get that rising near off ledge and just demolish stocks over and over. It does seem like Level Up Expo was an insane P tier out of nowhere. I feel like no one really expected it to reach that, like that reach or that high, but it just got that crazy, and then a ton of top players showed up and you saw the best of the best fight each other, and Doramigi was on top. His worst tournaments were a 5th at QualudeCon 15 and 5th at Kagaribi 13, which isn't bad, like still is a fantastic result, but probably will make it a bit shaky for him to be definitive number one. I think he's a bit of a super pick as well because he hasn't been to a ton of majors. He definitely doesn't have a lot of head-to-heads, but I would not be surprised to see Doramigi up there just because of how nuts Level Up Expo was and how consistent he is around the board with the majors he does enter. It'll be funny to see Min Min as number one because people hate this character to death. I mean, I kind of do, but hey, at least it will show that Min Min's nuts, and all the Min Min players beforehand weren't just as good as him. He's just so nuts, and he's so young too. I feel like the young people doing crazy amounts really just seem like a Steve thing, but I think Min Min is also that crazy tier of a nuts character people are sleeping on. Next up, we're going to be talking about Hurt. Hurt makes Snake look insane. Snake dictates the pace of the match just from second one because of grenades and C4 and being heavy and having dumb combos from those grenades and C4 and having Nikita and having crazy limbs that do a lot of damage. It's nuts to see Snake still in the meta. No matter how much the game changes or how many characters are added, Snake always just has an answer, and Hurt makes Snake look insane. He's extremely intelligent and moves incredibly well with the character and makes it feel like he's honestly smaller than he is. Snake's a tall, heavy character, but with Hurt at the helm, it feels like that Snake is this slippery, weird little guy who destroys you with gigantic moves out of nowhere. And it feels like if anyone's going to become number one, Hurt's probably skill-wise the best player in the world, in my opinion. He won Genesis X2 and got second at Luminosity Makes Moves, and while he did get a 9th at Battle of BC7 and a 3rd at a Genesis Pre-Local, he's gotten first and second at every other major tournament he's entered. The big problem really stems from the fact that he did get banned for a little bit, so he couldn't go to as many tournaments as he wanted to. Definitely not being able to go to Kagaribi 13 is a gigantic knock to his number one security, because I feel like he probably was going to be the first seed of that tournament. But now that he couldn't have gone, it feels a little bit more up in the air of where he's going to end up. Probably 1 or 2. It's hard to really say. I do think there is a thing that's going to make it so he could be number one when I talk about Acola, who's going to be, spoiler alert, the next person I talk about. But if I'm going to say who I think the best player in the world is skill-wise, I still think it is Hurt. He's beaten enough people for it. He still is insane. And while he does get upset like everyone in the world does, it feels like he is the most consistent top 5 player in the world. Finally, let's talk about Acola. Acola plays Steve and is known as the disaster waiting for anyone in the world because he is so good against everyone. Really felt like Spargo had his number for a while, but even then Spargo still has some sets lost to him, and Acola still is very dominant. I think the thing that's determining him being a number one is winning the biggest tournament of all time, Kagaribi 13. It felt like, unfortunately, since Hurt was unable to attend this was what's going to determine who number one was, because it just had every top player in existence and had so many people just bustering, getting 129th, people you think like as major winners, right? Like people who've won gigantic tournaments before, but Acola was dominant over all of them. He also got second at Genesis X2 to Hurt, and his worst tournament actually was pretty bad. 33rd at Level Up Expo, losing to Skinny the Pooh, the GOAT, and Karama, the other GOAT, 2 Mario players that I do love watching. It's a bit hard to say that's not a big knock on his number one placement, but winning the biggest tournament of all time is, I think, pretty determined as like a nuts thing. I don't think anyone would be surprised if Acola gets number one again just because of that. I mean, Steve is obviously broken and everyone knows that Steve is the best character in the game, but it still is extremely impressive Acola's kept it up for this long. He just came into Smash Ultimate as this young kid who destroyed people, especially because I feel like it just started the whole thing of like, oh, when Steve comes out, it's going to be kids who play and then destroy people, and Acola was the forefront of it. I'm still not sleeping on him. I think it's pretty understated how much he's worked for this. I think beating these many people who also played against Steve a lot, who have to fight against him a lot, who've adapted over the years, all the Japanese players that have tried to stop him, all the American players that give him shit, and he still destroys them. I wouldn't be surprised if Acola is number one. It's just that 33rd is really ugly. So I think it is truly down to Acola versus Hurt, and it's going to be a bit awkward. That being said, I'm excited to see what the rankings are going to have. Who do you have in your top 10? Who do you have in your top 5? Maybe I should try to make a top 10 guest video, but I don't know enough about results. I know enough about how LumiRank works to say it's going to be definitive, but hey. But yeah, thank you for watching the video. I very much appreciate it. We've had a good amount of support. Like I've said, we're going to try to get a lot of stuff going out there, try to get some YouTube shorts going. I'm going to try to make more and more videos, probably going to have some gaming videos and streams on the YouTube. So if you're down to be a part of that, make sure to subscribe, make sure to comment. I'm going to be reading all the comments that I ever get, and I appreciate and love you all. Have a good day.